Hello, my name is Lynn, and I'm with the North American Youth Parliament for Water, or NAYPW. And we have a new project and event, really, that we are so excited for. It's called the Youth Forums for the Columbia River, or Columbia Youth Forums for short. And I just wanted to share some information about this effort with you in this webinar-like format to hopefully answer some questions you may have since we first started building for this project ahead of the big event on Saturday, February 11th. So in this presentation, I'll go over some background information and then review some of the frequently asked questions about the event and the program overall, and basically how things will work as part of the Youth Forums for the Columbia River event on Saturday, February 11th. So let's dive in. So first, I just want to quickly introduce NAYPW to anyone who this may be the first time that you're interacting with us for the Columbia Youth Forums. So NAYPW's leadership is a mix of young people age 18 through 35 from across North America. Currently, right now, we're led by folks from the USA and Canada. For example, I am the USA co-president of NAYPW. We recognize that North America is more than just the USA and Canada. That's just the countries and sovereign groups that we have members from right now. Our chapter, the North American Youth Parliament for Water, is the regional network of the World Youth Parliament for Water, which is a global network of chapters of young people, again, aged 18 through 35 typically, of folks who are water passionate and water concerned. Overall, all chapters in the World Youth Parliament for Water focus on integrating young people into progress on Sustainable Development Goal 6 for water. And specifically, the North American Youth Parliament for Water tends to focus on issues around sanitation equity, ecosystem protection, and transboundary water policy alignment and transboundary natural resources management when it comes to freshwaters. We also want youth and young professionals to be more recognized as stakeholders to be included in decision-making forums around water. Our chapter, we specifically have two models of involvement for young people who are water passionate in our continent. First, there's the leadership committee, of which I'm a part of, as well as several other leadership positions. And anyone is welcome to join in an open role or as general support for our continent-wide programs that we bring to our members and really for any water passionate young people across the North American continent. You also have the option to, if you're working on a local project or a passion project of your own, to reach out to us and our leadership team for support on implementation or just bringing your project to a wider audience of our network of partnership organizations and our network of members. But that's enough about NAYPW specifically. Let's dive into our newest project, which is the Columbia Youth Forums. So these forums are critical opportunities for youth in the basin to collect, organize, and empower themselves as water stakeholders during the current renegotiation period of the Columbia River Treaty that is going on and closing in 2024. And the Columbia River Treaty is a really important document to be knowledgeable about because it is the primary governing document between the USA and Canada in the basin. So this project will mostly focus on engaging young people from across the Columbia River Basin. NAYPW is going to facilitate this by organizing synchronized, regionally representative, youth-led forums or spaces where people aged 16 to 35 can convene, collate, and elevate their voices for a better water future in the Columbia River Basin in the context of the current renegotiation and modernization discussions of the Columbia River Treaty. Also important to note is that this year in 2023 is the UN 2023 Water Conference, and this event, the Columbia River Youth Forums, is also happening in the context of the coming UN conference, because we are also going to have the opportunity to bring the outcomes of the Columbia Youth Forums to the United Nations platform by representing project outcomes in that space, which we're really excited for and really want to partner with folks who are going to participate in the forums in that process. So I got a little bit into why this is important to happen now. The Columbia River Basin is a transboundary basin managed between the United States and Canada, with Indigenous communities and other sovereign nations typically excluded from the management process by these governments. The treaty governing the basin, the Columbia River Treaty, is currently under renegotiation until 2024. So now is a closing window of opportunity for NAYPW to gather youth through the forums and collect their concerns, insights, demands, as the future stakeholders of the basin. And this could be really the last opportunity for our voices to be heard before the negotiations close. So therefore, this current renegotiation period for the Columbia River Treaty between the US and Canada, again, is this closing window of opportunity for youth to raise their voices and advocate for their future in the basin to decision makers and negotiators. So the youth forums will be based on a mixed model of online and in-person participation from young people, again, that target age range of 16 to 35 from across the basin. When in doubt, there's always a way to fully engage with this event and its discussions via Zoom on the day of the forums. So no matter what, if you register with us on time, you will at least be able to participate through online registration and participation throughout the whole day of the forums. So on Saturday, February 11th, NAYPW will facilitate these series of synchronized conversations from across the basin. These are conversations that will center those youth and early career voices, specifically for those who are 16 through 35 years of age. Really, these conversations are open to anyone with a stake in the future of the basin. This is a civic engagement opportunity. You don't have to be a water or environmental resources expert to participate or even be studying those topics. You can just be a young person in your community who is concerned about the future of the resources available in your community and the future of the region more broadly. You don't even have to be in the Columbia River Basin. If you're studying or working outside of the basin, but your hometown is in the Columbia River area, you're also welcome to join to have your experiences included in this event and its outcomes. So, as I've said, anyone with a stake in the basin can join online from anywhere as long as you register by our registration deadlines. There will be a few places that have an in-person gathering or an in-person node. These are still to be determined and are based on resources and the number of people joining from each local region within the basin. We have some funding to support travel costs for individuals who want to participate in a local in-person node on the day of the forums, but may have to drive a significant distance in order to get there, for example. However, these are limited, and any questions about these resources, you can reach out to the NAYPW team, and we'll answer them on a one-to-one basis. You can also indicate your interest in applying for these funds when you register to attend the forums overall. And finally, the regional or local location of the nodes and in-person participants will be combined with the virtual participants from the same area or nearby area to create local forums on Saturday, February 11th, when the event occurs. That way, whether someone's joining online or in person, they still are going to be in a breakout session during some point in the day with folks local to their specific area to discuss local specific issues. On Saturday, there will be 3 main sessions. However, before the sessions begin, we are also going to invite all participants to join early for some networking and just make individual introductions, as well as do the ever vital tech check for these types of online events. So once you register, the NAYPW team will be sending out more information about these opportunities and the exact timing of them. So I won't get into them in this forum here, which is why it's really important that you register in advance so we can start getting you this information as soon as possible. So on Saturday, the first main session will be a synchronized plenary. This session will include an overview of the events of the day, as well as a panel of guest expert speakers on various topics related to the Columbia River Basin. Then after the plenary, there will be the second session, which will be when the whole group of all the registrants break out into the local conversations organized by location, or the local youth forums. NAYPW will send out information throughout the day with instructions of who should be joining which forum in order to make sure that people who registered independently online or registered independently in person are joining the correct Zoom link for the correct local conversation. And these local forums, or these local breakout sessions, will be spaces where every individual participant can speak free form about their experiences or their concerns living in the basin, and specifically their desires or vision for the future of the Columbia River Basin and how that might be achieved through the modernization process of the Columbia River Treaty. However, if needed, NAYPW has also prepared some discussion questions for each group to kind of keep the discussion going and make sure everyone is thinking about some really critical issues related to the Columbia River Basin's future. So the final session of the day will be in the afternoon after a lunch break. We will close the day with this final session, and it will start with each of the local forums coming together to share their local discussion points with the broader group to kind of integrate the local issues into the broader regional vision that the event is going to work on and build towards. We will then, in this synchronized session, have a visioning exercise to bring those local discussions together into more action-oriented regional commitments and a regional youth call for the future. This will include a discussion of the actions that youth and early career people can take for the future of the basin, and specifically in relation to the UN Water Action Agenda, which again, when you register for this event through NAYPW, we'll be sending out more information about some of these United Nations related aspects of the event. After the youth forums, NAYPW leaders will collate or combine and collect all of the perspectives of the youth who participated in the event from the regional forums and the synchronized discussions into this final report and also a communications campaign. The report will contain the discussed concerns of youth for the basin, their vision for the future, and their action commitments from the Water Action Agenda. And also demands for action or specific calls for elements of the current modernization process of the Columbia River Treaty relative to current decision makers involved in those negotiations. So there's a lot of components to this event, and we've had a couple of reoccurring questions that tend to fall under these three themes. So I want to answer a couple of the ones that we've frequently gotten and just kind of address what answering them or what these questions look like and how things are going to play out on the day of the event. So first, I think I've used this term having a stake in the basin a few times, potentially in this video, and certainly in communicating about this event over email and with specific one-on-one conversations with community partners. So what do we mean when we say this term, having a stake in the basin? This means that anyone who will be impacted by the outcomes of the Columbia River Treaty modernization process really should join and try to be part of this conversation that we're having on Saturday, February 11th. Having a stake in the basin can mean that you currently live in the basin, your hometown is in the basin, but you live or work in another area now, or you have a specific interest in the basin, such as a research interest or a general passion for the Columbia River or Columbia River Gorge through travel or future plans to live there. The other one we commonly get kind of in this topic is who can join the youth forums. Realistically, anyone can join. As I said earlier, this is a civic engagement or public participation style opportunity to get involved. Our target age range for this project is 16 to 35 years old. However, everyone is welcome. We just ask that anyone who is outside of our age range or has a more developed career or expertise respects that this event is meant to center youth voices, and youth and young people's voices should really be taking center stage at this event. So the other theme that we tend to get a lot of questions around is what does involvement look like and what are the participation options? So for example, someone's not an expert on the Columbia River or water resources overall, or even just environment resources. Should they still join? And the answer is yes. Anyone from any background can join and contribute to this event. And we want a diversity of voices from different communities and young people who may be just starting out in different industries in the basin. You do not have to be an expert on the region or a specific environmental issue in order to participate. We really want to see young people of all backgrounds join us as concerned constituents of the basin and the stakeholders who are going to be most impacted by decisions made now that concern the basin's future. So as I've said before, this event is in the style of a civic engagement opportunity for public participation. The participation we are targeting is youth and early career people because these groups are often underrepresented or overlooked in other spaces. So you don't have to come with data or a presentation of any kind. Instead, these forums will be discussion focused based on your lived experiences and concerns for the community you're from and you're representing in the basin, and generally its natural resources overall. Along the lines of this is the question of what are my options to participate? And really you can kind of pick and choose your adventure with this event. As long as you have a high-speed internet connection and the time to participate on Saturday, you can join, and we're really excited to have you. So if you want to maybe put in a little bit more time and effort because you're really passionate about the mission of this event overall, you might decide that you want to be a local leader. So if you want to be a local leader, you can help encourage a group of friends, club members, or community members to register along with you. They also have the option to be online or in person, and if you really want to go the extra mile, you can set up a specific physical space to meet and then log in via Zoom to our online process. However, no matter what you do have to make sure that you have access to high-speed internet a screen to be able to see what's going on with the virtual participants and the virtual synchronized plenaries that will be occurring, and also a way for someone who's participating virtually to potentially see you and have a conversation with you from wherever you're joining. So do keep that in mind when you're planning potentially a group participation effort. Also, as an option for you to participate is the fact that every breakout group will need a note taker and someone who will read out what the local groups discuss during the breakout session into the discussion of the afternoon plenary and the afternoon exercises. So this is another role that you can take to help NAYPW capture the key elements of your local community's discussion in our final report after the event. Finally, you can also join in the post-event report writing process as a co-author with the NAYPW team, and we'd be super excited to have you. Please just reach out to us beforehand and let us know that you're potentially interested in staying involved as a co-author to help collate the concerns, actions, and vision for the future of young people for the Columbia River Basin. So the final vein of questions that we tend to get is around the balancing of virtual and in-person participation options. So there are different registration deadlines depending on how you want to participate. No matter where you are, again, as I've said before, as long as you have high-speed internet and you have the time to join us on Saturday, you can register as an individual and join online from anywhere. The NAYPW team will facilitate you being involved via Zoom, the correct local breakout forum with others from your area, from your state, depending on how registration numbers work out during the breakout rooms. You can join and add your voice to this conversation, again, online from anywhere, at least in the morning of the day of the event on Saturday, February 11th. And you do have to register for in-person participation before January 31st. And you can apply for travel reimbursement at this time. However, participating in person is not guaranteed. Anyone who registers as in-person can also switch to join online if an in-person node doesn't form near you and you aren't able to travel to the nearest node. So NAYPW will only provide a travel reimbursements for you to travel to a nearby in-person node. If you're potentially the only person joining from a significant distance or your local area, and the nearest node to you is quite a distance away, we're not going to be supporting that extent of travel reimbursement. And really, this will be handled on a one-to-one basis, depending on how registration goes. And I would encourage you to reach out to the NAYPW team overall, just early overall. So as I've said, in-person participation registration deadline is January 31st. And then again, the virtual participation deadline is the 6th of February. And then just a couple days later, the event will occur on the 11th of February. So again, these are the registration deadlines. As far as how you can register, you can go to NAYPW.com and find our page on the Youth Forums for the Columbia River, and the registration link is right at the top. As I've said before, the deadline for in-person registration is January 31st, and for online participation is February 6th. To recap, there are three main levels of participation. First, you can register as an individual, and NAYPW will make sure that you join the breakout discussion based on your location, either online or in person. Second, you can lead a discussion group and bring multiple people from your community to join you. We can help you with this process by providing you with more information about the youth forums to share with your peers and community members to make sure everyone's informed about the event and what's going to be going on. And third, you can help us with the post-event Youth Vision Report, and we'd be really excited to have you on the authorship team as a co-author. So that's all I have for you for now. Thank you so much for listening and for your interest in the youth forums. I hope that this presentation helped with some of your questions and that we get a chance to meet on Saturday, February 11th. Bye.